and the Child Affairs at the Office of the Prime Minister. It is time for In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Welcome, Minister. Season's greetings. We're getting to the end of 2021. I want to start off though by asking, how are you doing?
Good evening, DK, and thank you for the invitation. I am coping quite well despite, all the challenges that we are facing because of the pandemic. But I must say I'm in good health, I'm blessed, and I'm just encouraging my constituents, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to please be safe over this festive season.
And in terms of being safe, one of the things that we would have seen would have been issues regarding the young persons in our charge. So with that, I want to start off by asking, what is the National Child Policy?
Okay, thank you for that question. The National Child Policy directs how a country should collaborate to improve the well-being of our children. The ultimate purpose of the policy is to achieve 6 outcomes. These outcomes or agreements aim to guarantee that children are loved, valued, nurtured, protected, empowered, and supported. I must note that our National Child Policy is the first of its kind for Trinidad and Tobago, and we would have created it in partnership with government agencies, non-governmental organizations, the adults and children of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as UNICEF. And I must point out that of the 12 countries and territories within the UNICEF multi-country program of the Eastern Caribbean, we are the first to develop and implement a national child policy. So that is a win, Trinidad and Tobago and the children of Trinidad and Tobago in particular. In terms of the policy, yes, in terms of the policy, when we develop the policy, we ensure that children participate, but beyond that, in producing the policy document, we went on to do a child-friendly version. So when adults log on to a website, they can access an adult version, but children can also access an animated child-friendly version of the policy that they can understand, because it is important for children to be part of the process, DK.
And what did that timeline look like? Because it's one thing to say, okay, well, we're going to engage these stakeholders, then you're getting it and having to articulate it in 2 versions. And I really appreciate that fact that there's a version that children is more accessible to them, because it's one thing to have all that information, but at the same time, being able to access it and understand and saying, okay, well, this is something I am worthy, I am valued, I'm supposed to be feeling this way, I'm supposed to be feeling safe. What was that timeline like?
So we had consultations over a period of time, and we actually started the rollout and implementation of the policy earlier this year. And coming down to the end of 2021, we actually started to ramp up the public education and sensitization efforts, as well as engaging different personalities and social media influencers to help us to build that awareness about the policy. So persons would have been seen recently online, on the television, different personalities talking about the different commitments, agreements under the policy, and engaging the citizens so that they become aware. I must also point out that we would have created a Spanish version as well, because we recognize that we have Spanish-speaking children in our country, and as duty bearers. Every citizen in Trinidad and Tobago, every adult citizen, we are duty bearers. As duty bearers, it is our responsibility to ensure that every child within the jurisdiction would feel as though that they are loved, they are protected, that all those agreements, when we come in contact with those children, that they could feel the policy at work.
And I like the fact that you raised that point, because I can see someone saying, I don't have no children, I am not a teacher, what does this have to do with me? What do you say to that person?
That is not an excuse. As I said before, we are all duty bearers. Once you're an adult, you can be held accountable. So we all must play a part in ensuring that the policy is implemented fully. We must play a part in ensuring that we keep each other and hold each other to account, so that at the end of the day, when we approach 2030 and we talk about Vision 2030, as we move towards Vision 2030, we can all collectively agree and say that we did the best for our children. So it's not a matter of you being a politician or a media personality or a teacher or a bus driver. Every citizen, once you're an adult, you are a duty bearer and you have a responsibility and a role to play in ensuring that the policy is fully implemented and that all the children within the jurisdiction benefit fully from the policy measures.
And I like the fact that you speak to responsibility, you speak to accountability, bearing duty, and what are some of the achievements to date of the national policy? And because you would have raised the point that this is the first one of its kind in the region like this, but what are some of the other things that you're saying, okay, well, yes, we're on the right track?
So we would have, because of the policy and in implement and engaging stakeholders, we would have developed a child abuse awareness quick course that was done in partnership with not only academia, not only the staff at the Office of the Prime Minister, but our international development partners as well. So we have collaborated with UNICEF as well as some of our child rights ambassadors. And that child abuse awareness quick course would have been able to reach over 9,000 persons in Trinidad and Tobago. Over 9,000 persons participated in that course. And of the 9,000 persons that participated, 90% of those said that they learned something new. So we recognize that because of the policy that would have propelled us towards engaging citizens and find out what are some of the deficiencies, we developed the course. And through this course, new information would have reached over 9,000 citizens. But beyond that, we would have also established a website so that persons would be able to track, the policy, how we are doing, how we are implementing across different sectors. We also would have worked on developing our child safeguarding strategy. The strategy is being developed with the assistance of a consultant. We had focus groups, and we're also looking to use information as a work of this strategy to do more in-depth research, because our response must be research and data driven. So we're trying to embrace, the whole idea of using research and data to guide us in terms of our programs and implementation of different initiatives to safeguard our children. We also established a series of subcommittees. So there's a subcommittee specifically focusing on children living in poverty. There's one focusing on children with disabilities, and there's also a child ambassador committee. Now, our child ambassador program would have started even before the national child policy was adopted and we started implementing it. The child ambassadors program is where we pull children from throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and we train them in terms of understanding their rights and the responsibilities and that go along with those rights. And those children become advocates, and they go out into the communities, within their peer groups, within the schools, and engage persons on the child rights, responsibilities of one with the rights, and how children can become their own advocates in terms of promoting their rights and the different things that we have going on in Trinidad and Tobago for children. So what would have happened through our Child Rights Ambassadors program, they would have developed a series of animated videos discussing child protection. And we're looking to have those videos released early next year, so that is something that citizens could look forward to as well. And as I would have mentioned before, DK, another win, another achievement is the fact that we would have developed, as I said, not only a child-friendly version, but we also have versions of the national child policy in Spanish. And we're working with the schools as well as the libraries to help to distribute the policy document so that persons would have easy access to it. So those persons who may not be able to access a school or a library, they can also visit our website to get the e-version of the national child policy as well.
And in terms of that rollout, that is one of the things that I want to start to speak with you about. I want you to elaborate on it a little more when we come back from the break. But we are taking that break now. We're speaking with Minister Ayanna Webster-Roy. Stay with us. We return with more.
This Christmas, give a gift that will ensure your child's academic future.
Had it not been for the SEA success, she would not have done so well with her exam.
She graduated as class valedictorian.
For over 10 years, JJ and Friends have been helping students with learning to read as well as equipping them to pass their SEA exam.
This is a great investment for your children.
It is a very, very good thing to introduce to your children.
It works. It really does work.
The only learning system backed by 10 years of achievement in home-based learning and thousands of successful students. Our tablets are preloaded with educational apps aligned to the Ministry of Education's ECCE and primary school curriculum. Our grand Christmas sale. Get 30% off all our educational systems. Stocks unlimited. Call 33-I-READ now. That's 334-7323.
Welcome back. We are going in depth on the work of the Gender and Child Affairs Office with Minister Ayanna Webster-Roy. And Minister, just before we took the break, you started to speak about the rollout, looking at the fact that it seems to be encompassing a great deal of stakeholders. I want you to continue where you left off. Thank you. So you're talking about libraries, you're talking about Spanish speakers. What else are you doing in this rollout?
So in terms of the rollout, another initiative that is quite innovative is the fact that we are using competition to sort of whip up some excitement in the public and to get persons on board. So the Gender and Child Affairs Division would have developed what we call a 6 Child Rights Agreement. It's a social media competition where we have over $25,000 in scholarship for children and groceries for adults and families that is up for grabs. And I want to take this opportunity to thank corporate Trinidad and Tobago for supporting us. Without their help, we would not have been able to roll out this competition and to get the public excited about the work of the Gender and Child Affairs Division, and more so the National Child Policy. So for persons who are interested in participating in the competition, 5 easy steps. We're asking them to go to Instagram or Facebook at Gender and Child Affairs and click the link in the bio for further details. But also, what we want them to do is to do a creative 1 minute or less video saying which agreement that person liked the most, why they like that particular agreement, and what that person would commit to do to see this happen for children. Then we're asking them to upload the video to the link found on our website. The top 5 children and the top 5 adult video submissions will be posted on our social media platforms, and based on the number of likes and shares and so on, a winner will be selected, and the deadline to submit the video to the platform is 14th January 2022. So I'm asking persons to really go on site, read the policy, identify which of the 6 agreements that they would connect most with and they would want to commit to see happening for children, talk about why they like that particular agreement, and just do a very creative video that we will use as part of our public education and sensitization effort. So that is something that persons could actively engage in to help us to create further awareness as we continue to roll out the National Child Policy.
And there's so much involved in that because there's a call to action. There is the fact that people will be uploading their things, and even the fact that you're calling it an agreement as opposed to something like a commandment, because an agreement means that there is a level of engagement, and I see the value, and I this is something that I want to be a part of. So what has the response been like so far? Because it's also win-win. You could win things. So what has the response been like so far?
So because we have been using some very, very well-known social media influencers and persons who children easily gravitate to either because of their work or their impact in society or in the community, the response has been great. But I wanted to keep rolling in, let persons participate, let as many people as possible get on board, because the more people participate, the more videos we have, the more opportunity for persons to share the information. Because when you're doing a video, you most likely wouldn't do it by yourself. So you talking about the agreement, why you like it, why you're going to connect, what you're going to commit to, you're going to be doing somebody else. And just that conversation, you would be educating another person. We're all in this together. As I said before, we are all duty bearers. And for us to ensure that our children have the best possible outcome, require all hands on deck.
And do you feel a little different seeing a young person advocating for themselves as opposed to parents or adults saying we need to do this for children?
It is important for children to be part of the process because one of the tenets of child protection is child participation. Having children actively engage in the process would ensure that it would connect with them, but also it would help them to get that message out even further amongst their peers. Sometimes when an adult would say something, a child might not necessarily respond or gravitate to it. But when the peers say it, or they see the peers acting it out or living it out, they tend to really sit up and observe and pay close attention. So it's very important for us to have our children involved and for them to be, consistently engaged in all public policy measures. I often say that they are little people. We are big people, they are little people with a voice and opinion that matters.
And the fact that you and the stakeholders who work with you have been putting in that work. It's one thing for you to just reel this out to me because it's something nice, but it is something totally different for someone else to say, we see the work that you're doing. And with that, I want to ask about the work or the lead up to shortlisting. And I think you're actually successful for innovation and service excellence. So congratulations on that. Tell me a little more about that. Thank you.
And Dike, when you talk about teamwork, collaboration, research, passion, and innovation, that is what would have contributed to us getting that prize and that recognition. Um, we have a small team, especially in the child affairs division. But when you talk about passionate and when you talk about dedicated, then you're talking about that team. So they would have partnered with different sectors. They would have partnered with the University of the West Indies. They would have partnered with the Children's Authority. They would have partnered with children, different persons, different entities to develop this child abuse awareness quick course. And then to get the information out, not only using our social media, but engaging I remember reaching out to my colleagues in the parliament across all sides, upper house, lower house, and asking them, please share this quick course with your constituents, please share it with your network. And not only me reaching out, but the team at Gender and Child Affairs connecting with their friends, even friends away and asking them, share this information because it's not information relevant to only Trinidad and Tobago. It's information that could be used to protect children worldwide. So that course would have reached thousands of persons. And then we were encouraged, to submit it. So we did submit it, and Bertrand was the person who did the video and would have done the interview, Bertrand Moses. And if you know Mr. Moses, when Mr. Moses speaks, your heart would respond. He is quite passionate about his work, and that passion came out even in communicating with the public, and they responded to the call. And because of the support of Trinidad and Tobago, we were able to capture the prize for the innovation and the one that was specifically for the public's I guess what was the name of the public?
It'll come to you. But as we're moving forward though, and we started speaking about the whole conversation talking about the national child policy. But what are some of the other things that you have been involved in? Because you've been building capacity throughout this pandemic. What are some of those things? Because you speak about courses, then you have the active listeners, you have a child abuse awareness. What are some of those other things? Because we have a little less than 3 minutes, so we're trying to get as much in as possible.
I want to talk about the course we did for active listeners. During the pandemic, and this is not unique to Trinidad and Tobago, this is something that we recognize globally. During the pandemic, we saw an increase in instances of domestic violence. And we found that it was necessary for us to ensure that we have a cadre of active listeners who will be able to respond. So we have issued a call to the public asking for persons who will be willing to be trained as active listeners so that they can be able to man the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I'm really happy that we had that training and we will be able to increase the number of persons who would be able to serve on that hotline, either voluntarily or as part of the core staff. Because during the pandemic, we saw the need for persons to be able to access support, not only food support or financial support, but persons to be able to access someone, a listening ear, to be able to cope. Apart from the work that we did for the active listeners, coming out from our success from the Child Abuse Awareness Quick Course, we are also working to develop a similar course focused on gender-based violence. And we're going to roll that out early in 2022. At the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, we would have launched that period of activism and awareness and observance with a town hall meeting. And we did that in collaboration with the EU-UN Spotlight Initiative. And we intend to continue hosting regular town hall meetings, discussing the various nuances around gender-based violence, but also engaging the public so that they become meaningful contributors to the national response. Even though we may be in charge of policy formulation, implementing, and the rollout, we still need the support and the voice of the public. What can we do better? How can we do it better? How can the public assist us in ensuring that we reduce the instances of gender-based violence in Trinidad and Tobago, so that we could ensure that we have a society where rights are respected and protected and promoted across the board, and our citizens are able to live freely without fear of violence. So we're looking to continue rolling out our town hall meetings. Of course, the National AIDS Coordinating Committee will continue to roll out the national HIV and AIDS policy. There was recently a call for persons to do an expression of interest if they're interested in developing the policy document. It's currently a green paper. The deadline for that was yesterday, the 20th. So we're asking, persons, even if they would have missed the deadline by just a day, if you're really interested in being a part of, that response towards ensuring we have a policy that will really protect those persons who would need a protection under the National HIV and AIDS policy, to still, submit, and we could consider. So those are some of the things we are working on. Maybe you would have heard of our establishment of the nation's first state-run domestic violence shelters. We're hoping to have additional shelters established in Trinidad and Tobago.
And in terms of hoping to have additional things established in Trinidad and Tobago, we hope, be like Oliver Twist, please, sir, may I have some more? So we want to have further conversations, highlighting, spotlighting the work that is being done, very timely initiatives. But Minister Ayanna Webster-Roy, I want to thank you so much. I see that finger up, so squeeze it in.
Because I just remembered it was the People's Choice Award.
So correct.
That is what we wanted, People's Choice Award, yes. And we were very thankful and excited.
And we're very thankful and excited to have had you on this program. Thank you so much. And with regard to the TTT team, we want to thank you for tuning into In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.
For winning numbers in the National Lottery online draws for Tuesday, 21st December 2021, at 10:30 a.m., play away the number